obtained by the New York Times aims to reverse the erosion of Democrat support among young men, especially online. It is codenamed SAM, short for Speaking with American Men, a Strategic Plan, and promises investment to study the syntax, language, and content that gains attention and virality in these spaces. It recommends buying advertisements in video games, among other things. Above all, we must shift from a moralizing tone. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is rapidly becoming the new face of the Democratic Party. She just released a campaign email yesterday, and I quote, "I believe that ICE, an agency that was formed in 2003 during the Patriot Act era, is a rogue agency that should not exist." Do you know one of the congressional districts in the United States that shifted most to the right was her district in Brooklyn? It didn't shift right enough to get a Republican elected, but it shifted right enough that Democrats are noticing that it is not the progressive hotbed that once got AOC elected. And now she has national ambitions. She's being talked about as a 2028 candidate, and she wants to run on abolishing ICE. Or Bernie Sanders is out insisting that actually we Americans do use the word oligarch and oligarchy. The Democrats, you should know, the Washington Post has a story that the Democrats have decided one of the things that they need to do is they need to focus group which words work best. Should they say equity or equality? Should they say, and again, I'm telling you things that are real that you're going to think I'm making up because it sounds so implausible, but they're actually focus grouping. Should we say birthing person or should we say mom? Should we use Latinx or Latino, Latina? These are the Democrats. This is where the Democratic Party is headed. Here's John Heilemann, not exactly someone of the right, on Morning Joe.
When I hear Rahm, enormous respect for Rahm Emanuel. He's accomplished a lot. I said this literally on the show last week. Alyssa Slotkin is another person who's been saying the same sort of thing. Weak and woke. That phrase is a phrase that various people who want to moderate the party have been throwing around. What I think is important here is not the question of what the party's image is, but is what does the party stand for? If the party takes positions on issues that are weak and woke, it will seem weak and woke. If it takes positions that are strong and not woke, that is the way to go forward. It's not about language. It's about to deviate from what has become Democratic ideological conformity. And again, I'm sure Rahm has examples. Alyssa Slotkin probably has examples, but that's the conversation. That's the debate. That's the work the Democrats have to do right now, is not thinking about their language. The language will follow the positions. The language will follow the substance. And what I am not hearing so far in this first 6 months after November 6th, after the big loss last year, is that kind of work.
Yeah, you know, this is the problem for Democrats, is they always are convinced, and the media echoes this, and so they have a reinforcing feedback loop within their bubble, that their problem is their message, not their ideas. Their ideas are fine as long as they just instead of saying unhoused, if they say homeless, but also their idea is still to take from those who have and give to those who have not. The Democrats, it's always a message, at least in their mind. Now, this is Manu Raju talking to Dana Bash on CNN.
So we mentioned new voters, which is also young voters, another way to say that. And now I want to talk about men. And here's something from the New York Times. This is written by our friend of the show, Shane Goldmacher. The prospectus for one new $20 million effort obtained by the Times aims to reverse the erosion of Democratic support among young men, especially online. It is codenamed SAM, short for Speaking with American Men, a Strategic Plan, and promises investments to study the syntax, language, and content that gains attention and the virility in these spaces. It recommends buying advertisements in video games, among other things. So you're the man here. I will not mansplain you. All I will say is Duh.
Yeah, I know. Look, they should have probably recognized this a couple of cycles before when this trend was growing very apparent. This was a huge problem for them in the past election cycle, and they need to figure it out because right now the Democratic message is really all over the place. What do they exactly stand for as they head into the midterm elections? But right now it's a hope, really, among the Democratic leaders that that voters will recoil what they view as overreach from the Trump administration. They will make the argument that they need to be a check on Trump's power and to use Trump's push to move ahead with this so-called big beautiful bill, which rail about the tax cuts and that do benefit wealthy taxpayers, also other taxpayers too, but that does have an impact for them, and the impact on lower income working class voters, the health care cuts that they can face. Can they make that effective argument to win back the majority? We'll see.
No, they can't. Now, listen, the Democrats may be helped by Donald Trump and excesses by the right, but I've got a sneaking suspicion the GOP may do better next year in the midterms than what I had previously thought, in large part because the Democrats have decided to double down on stupid. It's absurd to me that the Democratic Party of America is out there with Bernie Sanders, an 80-something-year-old, arguing that most Americans use the word oligarchy. Most Americans do not. And what's notable are the people in the press who do. Brett Shearer is a good progressive writer at Politico, or Bill Shearer, rather. He's of the left, and he's got this 21 unexpected heavy hitters for a Democratic shadow cabinet. It's a shadow cabinet envisioned by Elise Slotkin, the senator from Michigan. In parliamentary democracies, there's a shadow cabinet that when the government falls, the shadow cabinet takes over immediately. And so if you have an interior minister, you have a shadow interior minister. If you have a chancellor of the exchequer, you have a shadow chancellor, and on like that. Now, that's what Elise Slotkin wants to do. Let me give you Brett Shearer in Politico. Samantha Powers, Secretary of State. Lena Khan, Secretary of the Treasury. Charles C.Q. Brown, Secretary of Defense. Letitia James, Attorney General. John Tester, Interior. John Boyd, Agriculture. Mark Cuban, Commerce. Bobby Olvera, Labor. Josh Green, MD, Secretary of Health and Human Services. He's the governor of Hawaii. Jeff Speck, Housing and Urban Development. Freddie O'Connell, Secretary of Treasury. Mary Barra, Secretary of Energy. Katie Hobbs, Secretary of Education. John Stewart, Secretary of Veterans Affairs. Giselle Fetterman, Secretary of Homeland Security. Bill Nye, the head of EPA. Now, you can go on and on with these, but here's the issue. No American really wants Mark Cuban or Giselle Fetterman or John Stewart or any of these other clowns anywhere near the government. And the fact that you've got a voice at Politico thinking this is serious is part of the Democrats' problem. It's not just the Democrats who have problems. It's the Democratic echo chamber and ecosystem where you have progressives who with straight faces can be given multi-thousand word pieces at Politico to say